Hey, it's Sri here. In today's video, I'm going to talk you through what you need to do when your husband leaves you, and in particular, 4 important steps that you need to take. Now, being on the receiving end of your husband leaving you has got to be one of the most painful experiences you can imagine in a marriage. It creates a huge amount of anxiety, stress, worry about what it's going to do for the family, and so on. And so you're probably finding yourself in a situation where you're not only extremely emotional, but in a huge amount of confusion at the moment around what to actually do, and also desperation. And so if you are feeling like that and you're really not sure about what steps you need to take, and I want you to know that if you are going through this and you're in this sort of pain, that I am here to help you and serve you during this really difficult time. So, all I want to say is that if you are feeling like you are in need of some assistance, then all you need to do is just in the description section below, there's a link that says book a call with me. Just click on that link, choose a time that works for you, and we'll hop on a call just so I can learn a little bit more about where you are now, where you want to get to, what challenges you're going through, and then how we can actually bridge that gap as well and really be able to help you to move forward from this really difficult situation that you're in. Now make sure you hit the subscribe button below so every week you get access to my latest videos, just teaching you specifically around how to save your marriage, how to recover from infidelity, and how to really become the best version of yourself as well. As I mentioned before, when your husband actually leaves you, it can create a huge amount of void and just a huge amount of pain as well, because you've had to deal with this marriage for a long time. You put a lot of emotional energy into it, and then suddenly out of nowhere he states that he's leaving you, and all of the efforts and all of the years of emotional energy and love and connection and so forth that you've had with this man suddenly gets taken away from you just in the blink of an eye. And if you're going through that, my heart goes out to you because I know how much pain it creates. But one thing that's often the biggest challenge is the amount of confusion that it creates. Do I want to make this marriage work? What do I need to do to get him back? The mixed messages that you often get from him. Sometimes he might make the effort to come over every now and then, and he might call you babe or honey or whatever, and then suddenly that creates confusion. Does this man still want to be with me? Or he's left, I'm confused, I don't know what steps I need to take. Is he the right man for me? And so on. And not only that, but the impact that it has on the kids as well. And so what I wanted to do in this video is I want to talk through 4 important steps that you need to take personally to make sure that you manage yourself through this really difficult time when your husband's just left you. Now, the first thing you want to do if your husband leaves you is to make sure you don't suppress your emotions. Now, what I mean by that is that a lot of people in these situations, when there's a lot of pain like this, they're constantly talking and thinking about the emotions and the feelings that they're going through at that moment in time. Now, this may seem very normal. It may seem like, well, yeah, I'm hurting, I'm in pain. Of course I want to go and talk about it with my friends, and I want to share that information, or I want to try and get help. I want to do the things I need to do to try and get this man back. And not just that, but the emotions that come up, the pain that comes up, you're going to find yourself wanting to think about this 24/7, and your emotions are going to fluctuate massively. But the most important thing you need to do when you are going through this journey is to make sure that rather than thinking about your emotions, that you give yourself the experience of actually feeling your emotions. You see, when we're actually thinking about our emotions, we're operating at the mental level. What we need to be operating at is the emotional level. Now, for a number of you listening to this, you might think, but the pain is just too unbearable. The pain is often too unbearable because we combine thinking and feeling at the same time. What we want to be doing is allow ourselves to just feel our emotions, to give ourselves a permission to actually experience them fully without thinking about them too much. Now, this might seem quite complex because a lot of you might be watching this and thinking, but I can't stop my mind from thinking about these things. And I totally get that. And it can be a little bit challenging to start with. But as a basic rule, as a simple thing to do, just even if you give yourself a couple of minutes and just start feeling where in your body you're experiencing some of those emotions. You see, even if those emotions come up and create a bit of a tension in your body, or you feel the need to cry, or whatever the reaction is for it, that's okay. Give yourself that permission to experience that, because if you sit with that emotion, it cannot last forever. The nature of human emotions, they do change, they do shift, but they can be released and let go of. And I think what happens a lot of the time is that for a lot of people, when those emotions come up, they think about it, it stuffs those emotions down. They think about it again, it stuffs those. So you keep suppressing those emotions down rather than just letting them come to the surface, to let it go, to release it. And then you'll actually find in the long term, you'll actually be able to heal from it a lot quicker. Now, the second point I wanted to make is to make sure you don't step into too much guilt. Guilt is the most common emotion amongst women. So many women are mothers and they're focused on everyone else but themselves. And whilst it's a lovely thing, more attention and more energy actually needs to be placed on the individual themselves to heal themselves. So what will happen is a lot of women will often blame themselves for the demise of their marriage. And that's just not fair. It's not fair to themselves. You know, it takes two to tango. There's always aspects on both sides that could potentially have been improved. But a lot of the time, the female tends to take on too much responsibility. And he also needs to take some ownership of his actions and his decisions, especially if there's infidelity involved. You know, if there's any form of infidelity, regardless of what's happened in the marriage, the man needs to take responsibility for what he actually did. It's not your fault, and you aren't the one that's led to the demise of the marriage. And it's really important to remember that, because it's one thing to take ownership and responsibility, but it's not right to blame yourself for the problems that have existed in the marriage. So we want to make sure we go more from blame to responsibility. Responsibility is empowering. Blame just steps us into too much guilt, and it actually results in very, very negative consequences as a result, not only internally at an emotional level, but also in terms of the actions that you take. It won't allow you to take the right actions to move forward and to progress, whether it be in the marriage or outside of the marriage as well. So be kind to yourself. Really give yourself that love and compassion, and tell yourself that you did the best that you could with the resources that you had, and that's perfect in itself. That's all we can ask ourselves as human beings. No matter what challenges that arise, we always do the best that we can with the resources that we have at the time. And that is enough to allow ourselves to have compassion for ourselves and kindness for ourselves, rather than stepping into too much guilt and blame. Now, the third step you need to take is to try not to listen to the inner child too much. You know, if you think about when you're a kid, or when you look at kids, you might even see it with your own kids. When they don't get what they want, what do? They start throwing tantrums, they start crying, they start using whatever defense mechanisms they know of in order to get what they want. Now, the thing is that when we get older, the programming, all of the behaviors that we've learned as a child still carry forward into our lives. We may have an older physical body, but a lot of the time, the psychology that we've had when we were younger does carry on into the future. It's just often a little bit more mature in some ways. But when we are wounded at the deepest level, the inner child often comes out and forces us to get into some really, really desperate situations. We find ourselves, stalking people on Facebook or Instagram. We find ourselves getting really, really angry at our partner and not being able to communicate in a very, very controlled and centered and grounded way. And ultimately, we just become extremely reactive in our behaviors. And it's not actually going to serve anyone. It's not going to serve you. It's not going to serve your husband either. So it's important that you don't listen to that inner child, that you avoid operating on instinct, because your instincts are always going to lead you down the wrong path, especially if you're coming from a negative and fearful place. Always want to make sure that when you make decisions, it's from a grounded place, that it's from an actual centered place where you have clarity of mind, clarity of thought, and that you're able to make the best decisions that are going to serve you and your family in the long run as well. So try not to act on instinct, and try not to listen to the voice of the inner child in the early stages, because all it's going to do is end up messing up the situation and result in you maybe saying things that you kind of wish you didn't end up saying. And that's no judgment. I know I've done that many times myself. So it's just a natural instinct across human beings. So you really want to try and maintain as much of a level head as you possibly can. And that way it's going to result in the best outcome for you in the long run. And the fourth step is to make sure that you actually heal your inner child. And so I say the third step to not act on instinct is because you firstly want to make sure you don't act on those parts. And the second part of the whole equation is to make sure you heal the internal wounds inside of you. Those parts of you that feel rejected, that feel abandoned, that feel unloved, that feel unworthy. Because when you heal those wounds, when you actually confront them and you do the explorative work internally so that you can actually heal those wounds properly in the long run, then what will happen is that you'll actually end up becoming a more centered, a more grounded, a more loving version of yourself as well. And the great thing is that when you do the healing work inside, what's going to happen? It's going to impact all areas of your life. You're going to end up showing up differently in terms of your work if you're working. You're going to show up differently as a wife. You're going to show up differently as a mum. But they're always going to be better versions of yourself as well. And to me, that's just a really, really powerful thing. I believe it's almost a responsibility for every human being on this planet to try and become the best versions of themselves. Because the more that we grow, the more we have to give, the more we have to serve, the more we can help other people and collectively raise the consciousness of this planet. And I truly believe that. I truly believe it's really important to make some of these changes. And it starts from within first. So when you actually heal that inner child, what will happen is even if your husband acts in a certain way, even if he does those things, of course you're going to feel some emotions. There's nothing wrong with that. But you're going to take very different action. And at a deeper level, it's not going to wound you and scar you as much as it may have done in the past. That's a really, really powerful thing that you can experience in your own life. And a lot of the times that when we are wounded in a relationship, you'll often find that the same behaviors, the same way that you react to your husband may be similar to what happens in work or with your kids when you're triggered at the deepest level, when it really winds you up, where it really grinds your gears or makes you feel completely unworthy or unloved. You'll often find the same reactions right across the board. The only difference is that because relationships or marriages bring up our deepest fears, they create the most intense pain. So we often think, oh no, I handle things differently at work, or I handle things differently in my, in other areas of my life. But in my marriage, I really get angry and it really intensifies even more. But the same fundamentals apply, the same foundations still apply. If you feel like you're not good enough, if you feel like you're unlovable, if you feel unworthy, no matter which area of life you're in, you're always going to be triggered by certain things. So that's why healing the inner child is such an important part of this journey as well. The question is, how do we do that? How do we actually go about healing at that deeper level? Now, I wish I could just sit here and give you one thing that you could just do and then suddenly that would just heal everything, but it doesn't. We have to go deep. We have to understand lots of different levels. We've got to understand the physical, mental, emotional, and spiritual levels. We need to understand what sort of thought patterns have we been running. Are there past experiences that we've had to go through a lot of trauma and need to heal from? Are there some beliefs and values that we hold on to that we need to create some shifts in? And also, how do we release some of those negative emotions that have been plaguing us for such a long time? And, I go through all of this in my Authentic Relationship System training program through not only the training material, but also the coaching calls and so forth that I do in order to really create that deeper level of transformation. When you heal at that deeper level, it's incredible how quickly transformation can occur. I've had some incredible women go through this program and been in the most dire of circumstances and come out of it, either saving their marriage or been able to walk away and find this new sense of empowerment, attracting other men into their life who are just a perfect fit for them. This transformation work is real and it does work, but you've just got to have the courage to be able to face up to some of the internal stuff, to really do some of the inner healing. And I promise you, when you do that, it's incredible how many shifts that can actually occur internally as well. And I promise you, you'll experience a level of joy and happiness and love and peace that you may have never actually experienced before. So if you are in a situation where you're going through some tough times, you're not sure what to do and you're lacking clarity and just unsure about the next steps, and you're also wanting to do some inner healing as well, then I'd love to be of service to you. So all you need to do, if it is something that feels right and you connect with my material, then all you need to do is just in the description section below, you'll see a link which says book a call with me. Just click on that link, choose a time that works for you, then I'll contact you at the scheduled time and we'll just learn a little bit more about where you are now, where you want to get to, and how you can bridge that gap as well. So the only thing I ask is that if you are going to book in, I only ask for serious applications because I don't take on everyone as a client. I only take on a small number of people every month, just to make sure that I can serve you in the best possible way, but also to make sure you're a good fit for the community as well, because we've got this incredible group of women who are going through some really tough times, and we want to make sure it's a really, really supportive group as well. So like I say, if it is something that feels right for you, just click on their link, choose a time that works for you, and I'll contact you at that scheduled time. Thank you so much for watching this video. I hope you've enjoyed it. If you've liked it, make sure to hit the like button below. If you want to get more videos like this, make sure to hit the subscribe button and just click on that bell notification as well, so you get notified every time I release my weekly videos. And do let me know what your biggest takeaway is from this video as well. I always love reading all the comments, so just write them below and I'll make sure I respond to every single one of them. If you want to learn how to recover from infidelity, just click this video above. And if you want to learn whether you self-sabotage in your marriage, just click this video above. Thank you so much, and I'll talk to you in the next video.